Today, I bring you the new part of the story of our hero Orhun, a young man who gets kicked out of the hero party after being called useless, just a side character with no real value in battle. But what no one realized is that his true strength is not in direct attacks. He has different skills, tactical intelligence during battles, and the ability to turn the simplest resources into a terrifying weapon. From the moment he is expelled, the real journey begins. A journey to prove himself, break every limitation, and make everyone who underestimated him regret it. Without taking much of your time, drop a like and subscribe to the channel so we can reach 1,000 subscribers. And if you have not watched the previous parts, you will find the video link in the description. Now, prepare your favorite drink and let us continue the story. A couple days pass by and Selma arranges a team meeting one morning to talk about a quest that they have been given. Everyone sits down on their seats, but it still feels odd to Orhan, as he is once again in a party with whom he is soon going to go dungeon diving again. It had been so long since he decided to go solo that he forgot this feeling altogether. Selma starts the meeting as she reveals that the Adventure Management Division has given them the task to collect noxious sheep pelt, and they will be heading towards the 86th floor to practice their teamwork as well. Orhun swears to himself that he will make sure that this party goes beyond the 94th level, so that they can proudly call themselves equal to the hero's party. A little while later, they finally enter the 86th floor, which is a part of the lower dungeons, but the beautiful scenery makes everything look so pretty that the adventurers feel more relaxed, and that's why this level is so dangerous. And they can't let their guards down. Selma tells them not to get distracted by the scenery, as there are a lot of earth dragons at this level, and they can be a menace to deal with. And anyways, their primary goal here is to practice their teamwork with Orhan. Selma lays down the basic roles, claiming that Will's job will be to grab the monster's attention for as long as possible, while Rain will attack from the rear with her explosive magic. Otis will join the attack, making sure that all her healing magic is ready to go at a moment's notice. Selma herself will make sure that everyone is buffed at all times, and she is the one who is going to be giving all the orders, while Orhan is going to be their ace and the attacker who will be taking the front lines and dealing most of the damage to the monsters. Otis turns towards Orhan and claims that he is probably strong enough to deal with all the monsters on his own, and even Will agrees with that, wondering whether they would only be coming in his way. Selma turns towards Orhan, claiming that if he thinks that he will be better off attacking alone, then she has no issues with that either. But Orhan immediately replies that he is a part of this team and will be following all her orders. Moreover, their main goal today is to learn how to properly function as a team. For that, they will need to work as a team and synergize with each other. Selma realizes that Orhan is right, and that she has made a very dumb suggestion. But before she could clear her mind, a giant fireball is shot in their direction. Selma was completely spaced out at that moment and doesn't even move. But Orhan is too quick on his feet and immediately dodges out of the way before using his defensive wall to save all his teammates at the same time. He immediately realizes that this is the work of an earth dragon, but there is none in sight, which means that they will have to find it first. Otis comes forward and tells Orhan not to worry, as she will deal with it, as she has a special ability called magic tracking. This helps her triangulate the exact location of her enemies just based on the magical aura remaining in the area that was attacked. She starts scanning the area and quickly finds the foe hiding behind a bunch of bushes. She uses one of her flare gun type abilities, which lures the monster out, while Will gets ready to do his own part. The monster starts running towards them, and Will runs at it as well, while Selma smiles and claims that it is good that Orhan can see the power of their team. Will rushes towards the beast while Rain charges her magic attack. The monster fires another fireball at Will, but this time he is ready and splashes the fireball in two without any issues. The monster shoots more fire blasts at Will, but they are of no use since Will simply cuts them in two or dodges away, escaping without any harm. After baiting the monster into the right position, Will backs off, while Rain uses one of her trap cards and nukes the monster with her explosion magic. Even Orhan is surprised, since they worked perfectly together and made short work of the dragon. Orhan looks at Will and his giant lance, realizing that he wasn't just deflecting the attacks, he was actually nullifying them as well, completely canceling the magic inside. Moreover, Rain used a special braid magical skill like the nuke with such ease and quickness that the monster didn't even have any time to react. Any caster would have taken twice as long to cast the same attack. Otis was amazing as well, with her ability to track down the enemies. There is no real chance that they can be jumped by the ops anytime soon, and Selma is the one binding all of them together, forming one of the best and the most well-synergized parties that he has ever seen. Orhun tells Selma to her face that he is impressed by everyone in their unit, which makes her blush, but before she can respond, a loud roar grabs their attention, and they turn around to see two more earth dragons have risen up from their slumber and are eager to fight. Selma claims that this is perfect as now they can properly practice their teamwork. Both Will and Orhun get ready for the attack and rush at the dragons at top speed, but Orhun stalks in the middle and turns around, sensing that something is wrong, and uses his rock arrow magic spell to shoot in what seemed like an empty field. It turns out that his intuition was correct, as magical turtle monster was hiding nearby and slowly making their way towards Selma and the girls to ambush them from behind. Orhun's intervention saves them from a disaster, but things are not better off either way since they are now trapped between the two earth dragons and the armored turtle monster. Selma immediately takes command, claiming that the turtle monster has an incredibly strong shell, but is very slow, which makes it a prime target for spellcasters. She tells Rain and Otis to deal with the turtle, while Will and Orhun are supposed to deal with the earth dragons without worrying about the turtle ever attacking them. Orhun seems to be enjoying this very much, as Selma's directions and decisions have been crisp and precise, making her someone who they can trust and follow. The dragons start running towards Orhun, shooting their fireballs at him, but Will is standing in between, acting like an impenetrable wall as he cuts through the fireballs and distracts them, while Orhun decides to flank them from the side to get a better angle. Orhun realizes that this party is working exactly how he wanted the heroes' party to work, but they were all too lazy to follow any of the orders. He gets into position and uses his own magical buffs to empower his sharpness and strength and waits for the orders. Selma tells him to wait for 5 seconds so that the dragons can get out of position and then attack simultaneously with Will. Orhun waits for the correct moment as Will baits an attack out of the rock dragons and then jumps back, while Orhun uses his air cutter attack to slice the dragons in half, killing them immediately. Meanwhile, the girls together manage to hit the turtle with a lightning attack, followed by a fire blast, and then an ice field which completely destroys the turtle, giving the party another victory. After that perfectly executed fight, they start walking through the fields and Orhun claims that it has been a really long while since a fight was this easy for him, as he usually has to do so much more work each time they fight. Selma stalks and asks Orhun seriously whether in his opinion, he thinks that they all are ready as a team to face the floor number 92. Orhun replies that he thinks that they are more than ready for that floor, and claims that he thinks that they all can defeat the Black Dragon without him as well, if they keep their nerves about them. Selma, however, has seen the Black Dragon firsthand in combat very recently during the teaching expedition and knows that the dragon is incredibly strong, and she doesn't want to lose anyone else in the fight. By the time the sun starts setting, they are done with their mission and manage to collect the pelts from 9 noxious sheeps, which is more than enough to call the mission a complete success. Orhun then asks Selma whether she can tell him where he can find the adventure management office, as he was called by them, and Selma tells him not to worry as she will accompany him since she has to report the mission's success as well. Orhun thanks her, and that evening, they all go to celebrate at a pub, eating amazing food and talking about the day. A couple drinks later, Selma gets drunk and starts making advances towards Orhun, who realizes that he won't be able to hold himself back if she keeps doing this. Before he could do anything though, Rain also appears next to him and starts hugging his arm and being very close to him. Will watches with interest, cheering for Orhun, claiming that he is a total player, but Orhun can't deal with it anymore, and as soon as post-nut clarity hits, he uses his sleep magic to send both the girls into a deep sleep. A little while later, while Sophia was chilling in her room waiting for her sister to arrive, she hears a knock at the door. She expected her sister, but here's Orhun asking her to open the door. At first she was scared to open the door, thinking that she is not dressed appropriately, but Orhun claims that he is with Selma and needs her to let him in. Sophia decides to open the door, but notices that Selma is literally on Orhun's back, which looks even worse than a usual walk of shame that she is used to see. Sophia realizes that her sister is meant for the street and asks her to get off Orhun's back this very instant. She also realizes that both of them must have had a lot of fun since Orhun was smiling when he came. She starts feeling left out and conflicted since she clearly has feelings for Orhun, and later tells Selma that she was probably making Orhun uncomfortable. Selma apologizes and heads off to the bathroom to take a hot shower, during which she thinks about the way Sophia looks at Orhun, and knows for a fact that Orhun is her first love, and she shouldn't do anything to make it weird. But at the same time, she thinks about everything she said to Orhun, and realizes that she even called him handsome. She starts going into a deep spiral as she questions her own feelings about Orhun. wondering whether she only likes him as a person and looks up to him as an adventurer, or are there any deeper feelings involved, which can sabotage her relationship with her sister as they move forward. The next morning, Selma accompanies Orhun to the management reception, where they find Stilla waiting for them. Her desk seems messier than my love life, but just like me, she doesn't seem to care much about it and carries on with her day. She introduces Orhun with Carla, the super hot woman who is the caretaker of the new adventurers that join their clan. Carla greets Orhun warmly and claims that he is going to be taking care of group number 10 and will take over their training from now on. She then asks him whether she has gone over their files, and Orhun replies that he knows them already, but has thoroughly checked the files, and only then did he come to the decision to personally train them. Carla looks relieved and thanks him for taking over the lot, while even Stilla claims that only Orhun can deal with them at this point. Orhun smiles and then asks what's the policy on training here, and how hard can he go on them. Stilla replies that there is no policy on how to train anyone, so he can do whatever he feels like without any second thoughts. She tells him to simply teach them whatever he knows from his own experience and train them enough that they can go alone in the outside world and won't get hurt very easily. Orhun is still a little confused, and Selma understands him better, claiming that it would probably be better if Orhun had a goal that he could work towards instead of having nothing to aim for. Stilla thinks for a bit, and then replies that Orhun should train them in such a way that the trainees are able to take on the middle-level floor by themselves by the next 6 months. Orhun claims that those are some high expectations from the newbies, but Stiller replies that they are supposed to be both the troublemakers, but also the most talented of the lot, so expect a lot from them in the coming year. Moreover, they already showed a lot of growth after the training expedition that they went on. Orhun agrees and claims that he would try his best, and with that both Selma and him leave the room to get back to their work. In the corridor, Selma stops suddenly and claims that if Orhun has read all the files, then he probably knows everything about Sophia and herself. Orhun looks down a little uneasy before nodding. A hint of sadness emerges in Selma's eye as she claims that Sophia was the daughter of the maid who was also a mistress to her father, and everything would have been fine, but Sophia's mother died after a couple of years of giving birth to her. Selma's family obviously took her in, but since she was a bastard child of a lowborn mistress, she never had a true place in her family and was always treated like an outsider. This got even more difficult for her when Selma left the home to become an adventurer, and when she returned for the first time, she saw Sophia's empty eyes and sad expressions, which were the cause of two adults making dumb decisions while the child has to bear the consequences. Selma couldn't see that and took Sophia with her the next time she left the house, and ever since that day Sophia was always treated like a true sister of Selma. She looks at Orhun and claims that Sophia is the only thing she loves in this world, and claims that she wants to see her as a successful adventurer no matter what. Orhun promises to take care of her, and finally bids Selma goodbye before entering the training room, where he finds all 3 of his pupils in the group 10 waiting eagerly for him. They immediately swarm around him with greetings, but Orhun manages to calm them down and then sits down in front of them, claiming that he has been given the task to train them from now on. All 3 of them seem very happy. Carol claims that he is super strong and can do anything, to which Orhun replies that he still has a lot to learn, but Sophia cuts him off, claiming that Carol is right as he literally defeated the Black Dragon easily on his own. Orhun smiles and thinks about the encounter and how close he was to losing the fight against that monster, but decides to push those thoughts away and simply thanks them, before claiming that someday they themselves will have to deal with the Black Dragon, so they must train their hearts out before that day comes. He gives them a pep talk, claiming that each one of them has a lot of potential waiting to come out, and he believes that one day they can all clear all the dungeons themselves. This gets the kids pumped as they thank him for taking them on as students. Orhun smiles and starts by telling them that there are some things he wants them to keep in mind at all times. The first is that they must keep their minds open at all times and be flexible, so that even if things don't go according to the plan, they can find a way to deal with the issue. The second thing he tells them is to think for themselves, as not everything he is going to tell them would be perfect, as he himself doesn't know a lot of the things. He claims that he has messed up a lot of things himself, and just because he is their teacher doesn't mean that he is automatically right. With that out of the way, he asks them for the reasons why they decided to become an adventurer. He starts with Sophia, who looks a little embarrassed at first, but then replies that she wants to be like her older sister Selma and become a great adventurer who can take her own decisions without having a fear of anyone. Orhun promises to help her find her dream one day, and then turns towards Logan, asking about his goals. Logan honestly replies that he is doing all this for money. The other girls are shocked, but Orhun tells him to continue, and he reveals that he comes from a village which is very poor, and getting food on a daily basis is a chore in itself. where people are forced to fight each day for their own survival. He claims that even though the village is poor, they pulled in all their money and then send him to the city so that his talents don't go to waste. He claims that is the reason why he wants to become an adventurer, so he can pay them all back one day. He reveals that he was thinking that he is a pretty strong adventurer already, but when he saw the black dragon and the true strength of a top-tier adventurer, that's when he realized that he still has a long way to go before he can become a strong adventurer. Orhun promises to teach him everything he can, but tells him that he will have to put in all his effort as well to make sure he can pay back the generosity of his village tenfolds back. With that, he turns towards Carol and asks about her motivation, but she simply responds that she doesn't really have any motivations, and she just fights because she can kill the monsters, and that makes people happy, and she likes seeing a smile on everyone's faces. Orhun realizes that her darkness runs really deep as she tries not to show any emotions, but the grief and anger inside of her cannot be hidden, as she tries to mask it with a smile, claiming that people stop smiling when monsters are around, so she kills them. Orhun decides not to push her and moves on from the topic, claiming that he wants them to keep in mind why they have decided to become adventurers while they are training. Sophia asks Orhun why he became an adventurer, and Orhun thinks about everything he dealt with as a child, and replies that he wants to become as strong as he can be so that the things that he cares about can never be taken away from him, no matter what. He promises that he is not going to treat them as children and asks them to give him their all. The very next morning, they start their training by entering the lower level dungeons, where they soon come across a pack of wolf monsters. Sophie rushes in as usual and kills 2 of them at once with her knives before moving towards the next batch and killing them one by one. Orhun thinks about how Carol is bad news, since she is a defender, whose job is to take all the attention away from the attacker and focus on defense. But she always jumps in head-on and tries to kill all the monsters she can, as if she is an attacker herself. Just as he thought, she fights with reckless abandon and leaves herself open from an attack from behind. But Orhan was ready for it, and casts a shield wall to stop the wolf before jumping in and slicing its head clean off. He turns towards Carol, asking why the hell did she leave herself completely defenseless from behind. But Carol simply smiles, claiming that it doesn't really matter to her. This confuses Orhun, but Carol simply brings the knife up and slices her own wrist. This shocks Orhun as blood starts pouring out of the wound. He rushes to stop the bleeding, but to his surprise, the wound closes itself up and the bleeding stops. Orhun has never seen anything like this before, while Carol claims that she can't be killed, as her body regenerates immediately and she is completely used to pain, and that's why she doesn't focus on defense much. Orhun thinks about her history, about how she was captured by an evil church organization who dragged her out of her home, and because of her regenerative abilities, performed all kinds of experiments on her. The church only has one goal, which is the resurrection of the evil overlord, and it has become the largest crime syndicate in the continent right now. Carol was saved 2 years ago, but the first unit of the Night Sky Silver Rabbits, which included Albert. She was very unstable back then, but slowly she became better and chose to become an adventurer out of her own volition. Albert's death, however, really struck her, but she never showed any feelings back then. Orhun tries to reach out to her and tells her that whenever she gets hurt, him and the entire team feel bad about it, and their smiles disappear. This completely sends her swirling as she drops the daggers and starts crying, promising never to do anything like that again. Orhun tries to reach out with his hand, but she jerks back while begging him not to hit him. This hits Orhun very deep, as he realizes how much trauma this girl has gone through and immediately gives her a tight hug, which confuses her. He promises that no one is ever going to hurt her ever again till he is alive, and tells her not to worry about anything. The next morning, the real training starts as Orhun teaches Carol how to dodge the attacks instead of letting them hit her, while Logan takes on a spear to become a more versatile member of the group. Sophie is given the task to count backwards from 500 while hitting all the targets with 3 different spells. The same training circuit is repeated for the next few days, but now Will is the one training Logan, as he is better at the spear than Orhun, while he focuses on Carol and Sophia, who are getting better and better with each passing day. Orhun finally feels content with their basic training and announces that they have all passed the basic training and are ready to move up to the next level, which is going to be harder than before, but he has high hopes from them. The kids celebrate while Rain enters the training room and tells Orhun that they need to head out to meet with the blacksmith as his sword is ready. Excitedly, Orhun heads to the blacksmith, who hands him his sleek sword. The moment he takes the sword in his arm, it feels like it was perfectly molded for him. The perfect angle, the perfect weight, and the perfect feel. He promises to himself that with the help of this sword, he will make sure that none of his comrades are ever hurt again. not knowing what's around the corner waiting for him. But that's where this video ends. This was the full recap of every episode released so far. As soon as new episodes drop, I'll be covering them right away, so make sure you're subscribed with notifications on. Head over to the channel and check out our other recaps. There's plenty of epic stuff waiting for you. Go binge watch and enjoy. See you in the next one.